Jenna from the D.I.D system, and I have been asked over and over again what my opinions on the United States of Terra are. So I watched all 3 seasons, and I do have opinions. So if you have not watched the United States of Terra, there's going to be massive spoilers in this, and if you plan to watch the United States of Terra, you should just put a pin in this video and come back and watch it later. All right, that said, everybody else in the room's good with spoilers because they're a-coming. Now, I'm not making this video to just because I want to rant on D.I.D media or anything. I'm making it because people asked my opinion, but my opinion is going to be that of someone with D.I.D. So it's not going to be on the show as the show itself. So in comparison, my friend Hannah has cerebral palsy, and I had watched the movie Me Before You, and I mentioned it to her, and she had so much to say that I hadn't thought of because she's disabled, and she saw this movie through the lens of a disabled person and saw it sending the message that someone with a disability that prevents them from having a normal life doesn't have worth, and the only thing that, the noble thing for them to do would be to exit this life so they aren't a burden to their friends and family anymore. And so that may not have been the intent of the movie, but she couldn't see it from any other perspective because she has a disability and she struggles with suicidal ideation. And so that whole movie was like an affront to her and her struggle. So the United States of Terra, the opinion I have is coming at it from somebody with D.I.D, and I'm going to have a different opinion than somebody who doesn't because I'm close to the subject. And my opinion is that it is subtly insidious. And here's why. So if someone who has just been diagnosed with D.I.D watches this, they're probably going to despair of ever being a good parent, a good spouse, or even a good friend. Because throughout all 3 seasons, Terra, at the very least, humiliates everybody in her life, both publicly and privately. And that's the least that she does. Everybody who loves her throughout the show gets hurt in long-term traumatizing ways. If we talk about her children, Katie and Marshall, both of them get abused physically by various alters where there are fights between one of Terra's alters and the child. Both of them are abused verbally. Alice abuses Katie, and both Buck and Bryce make fun of her gay son, and Bryce specifically of her gay son's dead boyfriend. Then there is sexual abuse for her daughter Katie, which, while this isn't a physical sexual abuse, verbal sexual abuse counts. So Bryce says sexual things to her daughter in such a way that the next time Bryce is out, you see her daughter adjusting her shirt up. That is sexual abuse. She has traumatized her children in just about every way possible. And that's just her children. There's her husband, who Marshall, in the 3rd season, the big thing is he's made this video and this little short movie, and it shows that this story is Max's story, her husband, and it's a love story. That's what all this is about. And so if you know anything about media and movies, that's speaking to the whole show. This show is Max's love story with Terra. But if that's the case, this is the worst love story I have ever seen. She is serially unfaithful to Max, even though they don't have an open relationship. She's had over 30 affairs in the course of their marriage. Her alters, but she takes no responsibility for what her alters do. It just makes her feel bad. So she isn't given any power or any agency. It's not her fault. She wouldn't do that to any of them. So then she's just this helpless victim of these altars that are making life horrible for her family. Horrible for her husband, who loves her, so he stays with her anyway, despite the damage she's doing to him and their children. At one point, Max's mom, who is also mentally unstable, steps in and tries to convince him to leave Tara. She says, Marshall, their son, will be trying to fix something he didn't break. I know, I've seen it. Your dad's only mistake was not taking you. So Max doesn't want to leave because his father left on his mother, left him there with a mentally unstable mother. And so his mother comes back as the voice of reason saying, you need to leave and you need to take these children with you. And that's like a reoccurring theme. Her daughter Katie is trying over and over again to leave. She gets into relationships with, as a teenager, with adults and trying to escape, trying to find a way out. And her sister is also in a relationship that, like, is kind of an escape hatch. She's tried two. The first one fell through because Tara ruined her wedding. And so then the second one, they're moving to Houston to, and I quote, be away from the child molester next door. Because she has an alter who comes out and is, an introject, who is an abuser alter, who we never see a healing arc. We never see that this alter can change the message that they've learned and become better. We just see them ruining everything, so that the only recourse is that people are trying to get away from her. This is a horrible message for somebody with D.I.D. to say that this is the best you can expect. Oh, also, yes, I forgot about that. There is even the secret murdering alter trope, because her alter Bryce tries to kill her therapist, Dr. Hatteras. Even though Tara brushes it off, oh, he's a teenager, he was only joking. It doesn't seem like that at all. And Dr. Hatteras tells her husband, albeit in a moment of despair, tells her husband, though, it will never get any better than this. She will never get better. You can medicate it and hope for a few good years. That's the message this show is sending. It's absolutely crushing in like subtle ways, because the story arc in a lot of ways is engaging. And so you're watching and you're hoping for, the typical story arc, there's this moment of despair right before they get their act together and things start changing. And maybe it was because the show didn't get another season. We never see that. But maybe it didn't get another season because what the show became is, what more horrible thing can Tara do to her family? Oh, I know what else can happen that's worse than the thing that just happened. Let's have her do this. It was, that the last season especially was so hard for me, because in season 2 I thought, I can see that we're going somewhere, but we never got there. It just kept getting worse. So what I would have liked to see, I would have liked to see the contract that happened between her and her alters happen in season 1. That would have been a great season 1 finale. And then it could have ended with, we are now the United States of Tara, because they were never united. Even with the contract, like, that fell apart pretty quick. And when they made the contract, she said, I'm dissolving the United States of Tara. It's now a dictatorship. Her alters never got a chance to grow or heal. It was all about her. And that's not in any way an accurate portrayal of living with D.I.D. If you want to live and live well, you have to realize that these alters have a say. They have a life to live, that it's not all about the host. And we never see that. We see that these alters have ruined Tara's life. She is at their mercy. She has no agency. They make a contract, but then it's still all about her. So if I would have my druthers on D.I.D. media, first, I think it's fine to portray a host and a system in chaos in the beginning, but Tara has had D.I.D. for, well, they talk about her having it as a teenager. So for a very long time. She's been in therapy for a very long time. By now, she should be working with her alters. So if the media is them discovering their system and feeling like their alters are ruining their life, that's accurate. That happens. But then you grow, you learn, you get therapy, your alters get therapy, and you begin to work together. So I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see United States of Tara, of the alters working together, becoming a team. So we see little glimpses of this where like Alice rises to the occasion and bakes a cake, and where Buck rises to the occasion and like punches a douchey boyfriend, and but these are just little blips in an ocean of everything they do is terrible. Let's have them also abuse the children and the husband. So I would like to see that, where it becomes from the person being, it's all about me and these alters are ruining my life, to, oh, it's not all about me. These alters are also people who have a right to a life, and we need to work together. I would like to see more on the inner world in the headspace. They do a couple blips of these, but in these blips where they're making the contract, it is Tara dressed as the alters, like when she portrays them in life. I would like there to be actual inner world representation for the alters themselves, because alters look different. I would have loved to see a guy playing Buck, like some veteran dude being like, So I would like media that portrays the alters as having their own appearance in the inner world, and shows inner world interactions and the headspace interactions, because those are like a lot of what happens with D.I.D, and those interactions are significant. They aren't just like, oh, well, so-and-so said this or whatever, and that's the end of it. Like, when things happen in the inner world, it has an effect on the outer world. For instance, in our inner world, there is a house that everybody lives in, and when two of the alters moved into the same room together, those alters began to blend externally when they fronted. Like, these things have like ripple effects. So I would love to see that represented in media. D.I.D is super complex. There's plenty of fodder for a show that doesn't involve just constantly ruining everybody's lives. I would also love to see, so media that I recommend to people, because I haven't found D.I.D media that I actually recommend to people. I recommend Inside Out, because here you have these 4 characters with their own individual appearances in the head, who will take control of the body and have the body say things, and they're trying to learn to work together and come together. I think Inside Out is a great way to kind of be like, it's like this. Because it's like that. I also recommend Venom, because when you first are co-conscious with a headmate, it reminded me so much of so Eddie is just minding his own business and Venom starts talking to him and he's like, oh my gosh. It feels like that. And throughout the arc of the movie, you have Eddie and Venom fighting against each other and then learning to get along and then learning to share life together. And it's like that. I would love to see that portrayed in D.I.D media. Let me think if I can, there's anything else in particular. Yeah, just healthy relationships. If you're in therapy for that long, you learn how to have a healthy relationship. Tara's relationship with Max is so dysfunctional, so codependent. It's awful. Like, and as you see in codependent relationships, Max is like, oh yeah, it's fine. And it's not. And then he's stewing with resentment. Like, no, Tara can do whatever she wants until she wants to go back to school. And then that's not okay. And he has all these undealt with and unprocessed things that he's holding in, because it wouldn't be fair to take it out on Tara when another alter did it and she's just at their mercy. Things happen in a relationship with somebody with D.I.D, which an alter will say something that hurts a spouse. It happens. That spouse still has a right to be hurt and to say something about it. Jonathan and I both have told people, if you're in a relationship with a multiple, you should have your own therapist, because you will need to vent and say things that you don't necessarily want to say to the host, because if you know they're working on it, if they come forward and we're like, oh my gosh, that was awful. They're in counseling, they're learning. I'm so sorry. Because that happens. Like, I do not recall what J.A. said the first night she was out with Jonathan, but she ran her mouth. And not necessarily to him, but about me, which he took offense to because, he loves me. And about, like, all men in general. And so then he has these feelings and he has to do something with them. He can't just bottle them up. And we talk about it. That's like what we do. But also therapy. And J.A. participated in therapy and has learned and grown and has a good relationship with Jonathan now. So even though, it started off rocky, it didn't stay there. And I would love to see media portraying alters having to learn to trust significant others, and that having significant others have difficulty with certain alters and learning how to work with them, learning, what's actually going on in the things that they say or do. And Tara has a couple episodes where there is self-harm done, and a lot of multiples do self-harm because of trauma. I would actually like to see media show things like that, where then the person learns why did I feel the need to, why did that alter feel the need to harm themselves, and growing from that. I think it could be like amazing and powerful, because that's what this whole journey has been to me. Powerful and empowering. Like, I have a voice, I have a say. I am not at the mercy of my alters. We work together as a team. And when one of us hurt, we all feel that hurt. Excuse me. Like, we don't leave anybody behind in their hurt and in their dysfunction. And I would love to see that. I think that it could be compelling media, and that D.I.D. media just doesn't have to be about how horrible this person is, mistake after mistake. It can be how we can live a amazing life, overcoming thing after thing in a healthy way with the people that are around us. So that's it. It's long enough. I'm gonna get off here.